So now that I'm in Milwaukee full-time and working at art full-time, I've sort of returned to this series. Before I was an artist in Milwaukee, I was a volunteer chaplain for this juvenile incarceration corporation. I worked as a chaplain for, I think, like a caseload of 60 or 70 kids in inner city Detroit. And I look back on that experience with such an awe, and it's not really a good kind of awe, and it's not a bad kind of awe either, but it was the first time I had ever really heard stories and built those relationships with someone who had a completely perpendicular life to mine. And I sort of became acutely aware of the way that mass incarceration in general deeply affects the lives of people in America, especially the Black and brown community. So these images that I'm producing, this one in particular, I want to focus on mass incarceration and how it affects the spiritual lives of both the people who experience it and the people who don't, the people who look on from the sidelines. Most of my work in general is of a spiritual or theological nature, and there's an identity that gets wrapped up very deeply once you're sort of in that system, and it becomes hard to figure out, who you're going to be when you get out, or who you are when you're in. So for this piece specifically, and for the other pieces in this series that I've been doing, I first put down this big flat orange wash, paying no attention to detail or form, really just a shape that blends together with little information about what's under it. So we have this image of the Black male body, and I'm really interested in figuring out how do we perceive that socially? How do we perceive that body socially? And who has done the amount of violence to it that we see? We have these associations with Black male violence, and we associate them with this color of orange, of the color of incarceration. When you're in jail or prison, when you're a risk, you're a flight risk, or you're some kind of liability, you're put in that orange, as most people know, not just for a marker, but as a way for people to look at you and identify in that snap moment of judgment when something is happening. You're an unknown quantity. We don't know what you're going to do. We're afraid. Be extra vigilant. And I think in a certain sense that carries over to how we look at people of color in our everyday lives. We're all guilty of it, and I want to use this piece to ask myself and ask other white folks like me, how do we contribute to that? How do we help to solve that stigma around the Black male body? As I'm certain you know, Wisconsin has the highest rate of Black male incarceration in the nation. We double the rates of some states, we triple the rates of other states. It's absolutely wild. I saw this article that I think something like 13 out of 43 Black central communities in Wisconsin are actually max secure prisons. It blows my mind that we can't see the forest through the trees on this one. That we're invested in looking at this as a case-by-case basis and not as something symptomatic. It's deeply unjust, and it's so fascinating to me that we haven't uncovered it yet. It's a problem that we haven't solved at all. It's a problem that we barely addressed and that we're afraid to address. With everything going on in Milwaukee, it's so important to talk about it, to talk about how we perceive one another and why, and how we can, at the end of the day, come out of it and realize that each other is just human, just like ourselves. When it comes to issues of social justice, sure, I'm down for the cause, but I'm not a loud voice. I'm not a grating voice. I want this to be an icon, almost a spiritual or religious icon that says, this is who we've put in orange. This is who we've signified as dangerous and violent. Why? And for what purpose? Who does it serve? And how does it serve how does it serve this person? How does it serve the rest of us? Is it necessary? Is it out of necessity that we think we're doing this? If I had a message for people, it would be to, if you don't know about this, if you don't know about what's going on with mass incarceration in the United States, especially with people of color, familiarize yourself with it, get interested in it. If there's anything that could ever be swept under the rug and us not notice it as white people, as people of privilege, this is one of those things, and this affects more people than you will ever know. 1 out of every 8 black men in Wisconsin is currently in prison or in jail, and we just need to know that. Just need to know that, because you might find something more underneath, in yourself or in the system. That's what you need to do.